Welcome to Tales from the Trenches, Season 4. Today, it is my honor to have Sarah Grebow with me.
Here's a story of a fundraiser who was launching his very own web show. Each episode is very short due to edits, so it can really flow. Here's a story of a podcast guest star who was busy raising money of their own. They were each great in their own way, fundraising in the zone. Till the one day when Jack asked a guest to join him, and they knew it was much more than a jest, that these guests must somehow form a resource. That's the way they all became the podcast guests. The podcast guests. The podcast guests. That's the way they became the podcast guests.
Sarah is a consultant to nonprofit organizations and charter schools on major gift philanthropy and corporate and foundation giving. She focuses on strategies to create and grow lasting partnerships, leading to large gifts based on organizations' vision and fit with donors' philanthropic goals. Beyond the transactional, her 20-plus year career in major gifts has led her to specialize in coaching nonprofit executive directors and their development staff on individualized plans and strategies for their top prospects and donors, as well as presenting trainings to boards on taking on new ideas and active roles in the engagement of high-level prospects during board meetings and retreats. She works with nonprofits addressing various causes looking to deepen their transformational giving or are major gift curious. Yet she is particularly passionate about education and youth causes as she appreciates the love of learning she gained through her educational experiences. Sarah earned her master's degree in higher education from the University of Maryland and her bachelor's degree in comparative literature, both Spanish and English, with a minor in educational studies from Haverford College. So Sarah, what a long bio, but we are so pleased to have you on board. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited for today's conversation.
Yeah, so 20 plus years in the fundraising field, which is, I figured all of us who have been there should, get some sort of a plaque if you make it past, a handful of years. It's a challenging profession. It's one that I wouldn't trade for anything, but it is a very challenging profession. But so many of our colleagues kind of didn't start their careers in fundraising. It was kind of done, they fell into it, or it was done off the corner of their desk. So tell me, how did you get started in the fundraising world?
I love that question. So I always thought I wanted to be a teacher. I thought I wanted to teach. Even as a high school student, I did an independent study and got credit helping student teach middle school math. Went on to college and took education classes and started at an all-boys school teaching middle school math. Loved it, but the students didn't want to be there. So I loved education, but continued my student teaching with adult ESOL, which is still a side passion project. Love the educational environment. There was an opportunity to be a phonathon caller for my at the time my college, Haverford, and I thought it would be a really neat way and to reach out to past alumni, and I thought it was an obligation to ask for their support and connect in that way. But I didn't really think of it any other than that. Just I thought it would be a challenge because this is me picking up a phone and cold calling a stranger. But at the same time, it's something that we uniquely care about. And I really enjoyed those conversations in ways that I didn't expect. I learned a lot. I liked that no matter how much you could go in there prepared, you always were learning more from the alum in this case.
Right.
And I like to be part of that process. So when I graduated, I really was interested in fundraising opportunities, particularly in educational environments because I just love that setting and I love the collaboration from that.
So that's a big, it's a big entry when you do the annual campaign, as they call it, right? The direct mail, the phone-a-thons, and things of that sort. But it's a even a bigger step I found are for those who kind of love that major gift world. And so, if you think of this as the fundraising talent, the ones that want to do major gift are very or are successful at major gift is a very, very small cohort of that larger cohort. So tell me, how did you make the move into major gift world?
Well, honestly, I never really, other than I wanted a background in everything. Like I wanted to learn everything from prospect research to proposal writing, but I didn't exactly like work my way up. Like I was never like a generalist fundraiser. I
Right.
really, I jumped into an entry level position that had me helping with donor relations, helping with volunteers, and learn that. But then I went on specifically to a campaign position. I am not the kind of person who's drawn to sales or presenting. I really like the opportunity for small one-on-one environments. So I really did not like when people are like, "Oh, how could you ever ask for money?" Well, I feel if I do my job well, they're asking like the prospects asking me what they can do next. I'm asking good questions. I'm preparing some, but not over preparing. But I'm curious. I'm learning. And that's what I love about major gifts because it's natural and it isn't like I'm not convincing someone of something. The transactional, the annual fund, it's one-sided. So you do have to sell more. You have to yeah, like present in a way that I'm would not be good at and I've never really done. So other than generally. So I really jumped into the opportunity to collaborate, create something new, and have impact based on a mutual partnership. And that's what I consider major gifts.
Exactly, exactly. Much more of a partnership than is the annual fund. The annual fund, you're raising money for A, B, and C, which are already predetermined, as opposed to a major gift, where some of it may be predetermined, but you're going to go on a journey with that prospect, and it may prove to be a different journey than you originally were setting out from.
Exactly, exactly. And that's what I really love about major gifts is as much as like I can be a perfectionist and want to do everything perfectly, you can know everything that you think about a donor. You can know their capacity. You can know what their past giving is. You can know like as much as you can about past interactions they've had, but you don't know them and you don't know what you're going to walk into that day or that moment or what's in their heart necessarily. So I love the fact that there's a human component to major gifts and there's always something you can learn that's more. I can do everything right and not close the gift. And I can make mistakes and close the gift. And there's something both imperfect and beautiful about the very human nature and the love that goes into major gifts. Where it's about something that's intrinsic, it's about creating new, like you said, and it's a true partnership in a genuine way that fits the institutional priorities and needs and the donors.
So that's a great kind of segue into one of my questions, which would be, what's something that you've learned from a donor that you
Wow.
didn't know going in?
I was trained by Jerry Panis, and I love his four questions when he, but rest in peace, used to be turned down at a solicitation. So he always used to ask, is it the institution? Is it the project? Is it the amount? Or is it the timing? And I like to encourage that reflection, not just at the time of a solicitation, but for a major, uh, a, a any solicitation, any solicitor, a fundraiser, or a non fundraising staff. to be thinking and reflecting on that. And I also add, is it the person? So
Right.
with that in mind, we were going to meet with a trustee of the university. It was a large, obviously a large ask, but it was also a very, very well-established relationship, so we all knew he has capacity, knew that the university was one of two of his top philanthropic priorities, and knew the size of his previous gifts and his gifts elsewhere, as well as we knew him well. So while we were asking for an ambitious amount, we were comfortable knowing some of the dynamics.
Right.
And I remember, having learned from Jerry Panis so much about those four priorities that I asked to learn more about, but to really see it in action, the timing factor really stood out here. And we knew that he had made a gift a couple years ago to his law school. And this was for his undergraduate institution at the time. Yet, it was a couple years before, and he was ready. And again, we prepared him for this meeting, so he knew what this was about. He's well seasoned. And it was very interesting for timing to be an issue. He had kids that were finishing up and going towards college, and it was timing. And I remember coming out of this, not that, okay, this is an action of, like, this is what one of Jerry's things. And again, I asked that follow-up question like Jerry and learned more. That's how we learned that it was that. But it was interesting that with the more senior staff at the time, when I left, she was very upset. And I told her, I was like, well, timing we can work with.
Right.
He clearly loves our institution and emphasized that. He wants to do this at the amount, and the project was right. So while I was surprised by that, what I learned was the different perspectives and coming out of it, that even sometimes other fundraisers going into it might perceive it very differently. So I learned that you can never be too confident, and you have to, and having multiple perspectives and conversations and debriefings are so helpful. So that was kind of a tangential learning that this prospect and this donor and this amazing leader taught me and taught us. And it was just so incredible to have that experience. When again, I didn't think that this was going to be that exciting in terms of all donor visits.
Right. And, it's so easy for a donor to just say no thanks and just leave it at that, right? But when they give you a reason as to why not, well, that's just an invitation to say, okay, so let's find a good time down the road that works for you. And so were you around to close that loop down the road? And did that donor come through in the way that you had hoped?
Absolutely. And that was the trust building, because, so many times it's so hard for organizations of all sizes, but oftentimes smaller ones, which is why I really enjoy doing it now, to be like, okay, they said no, let's go on to the next. I don't have time, energy, or I don't want to bother them. But no, you show them that you're still there. Like you're sticking around if it's a downturn in the economy, if it's a natural disaster, if it's COVID, whatever it is, there's always going to be something. But if you show that you're in it and you care, and that's for funding of all types. I mean, it's so important when a corporate or foundation funding request is turned down to continue that relationship. And it's not that we're just looking for and grabbing for money everywhere. It's that, no, you matter. You and the organization have a unique partnership. It's even more than a relationship. I think relationship can be a helpful word, but it can also be fraught in a lot of ways, because it's more than that. This is something that is directly tied to someone's identity and the organization's priorities, their vision, and their identity. And that's huge. And for you to tell a person they matter, even if they can't write that check right now, that's showing something much more important. So when they can, or when you need something else, they're going to remember that. And they
Totally.
deserve that. And that's a true partnership.
Yeah, because if you're only going to them when and you only love them when they're giving you money, well, there's a word for people who kind of do services just for money, right? So that's not what we want to be seen as. So I think that it's really important that it is a relationship. You're with folks through thick and through thin. So sometimes there's a downturn in their business. We're still with them. It's not we're going to say, oh, hands off. We don't want to, deal with Mrs. X because her business isn't doing well. But when her business is doing well, we'll give her a call and ask her for money.
Right.
And far too often, it's kind of that it's a one-sided relationship. What can you do for me versus sometimes it's just being there and showing that we actually care.
You.
If folks wanted to reach out and find you, what's the best way of doing that?
LinkedIn is the best way to reach me, Sarah Grebow on LinkedIn.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Sarah.
Thank you, Jack. This was a pleasure.